Hi everybody, welcome back to Magic Orthodoxy. My name's David and this is a deck review. Today we're going to look at the ATARI playing cards. Yes, the ATARI playing cards. It's just like what it sounds like. It's a deck of cards that's paying homage to the Atari 2600 video game system. And they are a Souvenir brand deck of cards. And what I mean by that is there are many occasions where you might be in a gift shop or an airport or at an amusement park and you will find a deck of cards for sale, and it probably will bear either the logo or maybe perhaps something about the location of where you are on the back of the cards. For instance, you could go to Chicago and buy a deck of cards that says Chicago on it. You could also go to the Broadway musical Chicago and get a deck of cards that says Chicago on it. These are called souvenir decks, and souvenir decks come in usually both bridge size and poker size, and they're not always the highest caliber and quality of cards, and people collect souvenir decks kind of like in the same way people would collect shot glasses or spoons or even paper goods like brochures and whatnot. So that's what we have here. This ATARI deck is a souvenir deck. That means it's souvenir quality. This deck isn't actually even manufactured by the United States Playing Card Company. Oftentimes, people that want souvenir decks, they'll just find probably the cheapest company they can get. Because really what they're trying to market is a souvenir item, not necessarily a quality product. And so these on the back, on the bottom by the UPC, say that they're manufactured and distributed by a company called Aquarius, and they are designed in China. You can find more about that at aquariusimages.com. The top box is pretty much just the back plate on the front, and then the back of the box has some information about ATARI. The back design is just the ATARI logo, and it's kind of centered in the middle of a rainbow circle spiral. And of course, because the logo is there and the way it's facing, it's obviously going to be a one-way back design, and probably the most obvious one-way back design, so please don't do any one-way back design tricks with this deck. With this deck, you're going to get two jokers. They're both game over jokers. And in this deck, what they do is whatever image they use for that pip or that court, that's the image that they just repeat. So there aren't a lot of images throughout the deck. For instance, the Ace of Spades is the ATARI joystick, but then so is the Ace of Hearts. So you can see what I mean. They repeat the same image for the same pip. For instance, the 10 of diamonds is the breakout game. The kings are all console, stand-up ATARI video game systems. And so, I mean, it's a cute deck. Real quick, just a note about the quality of the deck. It is a paper stock, which means there's no finish on the outside of these cards. A couple times through some aggressive shuffling and maybe some serious gameplay, and I would be sure that you would see some immediate wear. A lot of times when you go to buy some of these decks that you don't know anything about, sometimes you want to look for the words plastic coated. Plastic coated doesn't always mean they're coated with plastic, but it is a way of saying that they do have a finish. And oftentimes I'm always very hesitant about purchasing decks that don't say that if I'm not sure to where they came from or who made them. And especially with decks that are of this caliber, which would be low. If I don't see anything on the box about a finish, I will pass typically, because I don't. Decks that don't have a finish don't shuffle well, they don't handle well, and they seriously clump. See, there's nothing to make them slippery. So the reason you would get this deck is, well, maybe you like a really beautiful fanning deck, but you don't want them to fan very well, which I can't imagine you would. But I would assume you would get this deck because you either like ATARI or you're a card collector. You wouldn't buy these cards if you're a magician. You wouldn't buy these cards if you were serious about playing a lot of games. You would buy them for the graphics and for what the ATARI system meant to you when you were a kid. You would buy them for nostalgia. Or perhaps if you were someplace where these were being sold, you would buy them because you were at that gift shop and you wanted a souvenir. That's it for me. As always, please subscribe to my channel on YouTube. You can always like me on Facebook and follow me on Twitter. Thanks.